Today I'm going to show you an affordable and easy way to black out your headlights from the inside, as well as etch your projector lenses and frost the DRLs. Many people black out their headlights using tint, however this is extremely dangerous and destroys visibility. The way I'm going to show you today is 100% safe and works great. I'll be showing you how to do this today on an Infiniti Q50's headlight, however most headlights are very similar and you can try and follow along with your lights. As far as the etching, there are many designs you can choose from, and I will show you how to do it in less than 5 minutes. Basic tools will be required, such as Phillips head screwdrivers and 10mm sockets. Paint is up to your preference. I chose gloss black along with frosted glass for the DRLs. Even if you had to purchase every single tool, this project would be under $100. As you can see with the etch projector, the cutoff line is still extremely sharp. There are only 7 steps required to complete this project. It will start with opening the headlamp, removing all internals, etching the projector lens, prepping it for paint, painting, reassembling, and finally baking the butyl seal. This will give it the waterproof seal that it has from the factory. While it might sound intimidating, don't be discouraged. This is a very easy project that almost anyone can do themselves. Before we get started, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Shine Supply. They went ahead and sent me a couple products to try out and told me to give them my opinion. I promise you guys will like it just as much as I did, and the results speak for themselves. After an entire week of not washing my car, it was filthy. I went ahead, washed it with some water, threw the foam cannon on it, sprayed it down, used some of their quick detailer, cleaned up the car, and it looks great. I went ahead and applied some banana wax on an applicator pad, buffed it on, and waited for it to haze up. Hazed up extremely fast, and I wiped it off with a microfiber, and it gave a really good glossy shine. Link will be in the description. Don't forget Shine Supply when you need to buy your next detail products. Alright, the first step is to use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove all the tiny screws on the back of the headlight. There are a bunch of screws, make sure to get them all. Taking a field trip inside, we're going to remove the oven racks and we're going to test fit the headlamp to make sure that it fits in correctly. You do not want it to touch the heating element as well as the glass when it shuts. Once you're comfortable with the way that the headlamp sits, we're going to preheat the oven to 270 degrees. Once the oven is hot, go ahead and place the entire headlamp assembly inside and let it sit for 2 minutes. Make sure nothing's burning, and then as long as everything's okay, 5 minutes later, remove it and set it on the workbench. When the headlamp comes out of the oven, it should be very warm. Wear a pair of gloves and slowly pry apart the two halves. The black backing should come off the clear lens, and there's a few tabs that hold it in. Make sure to bend them out of the way. Do not use tools as it can damage the housing. Once the lens is disconnected from the main assembly, go ahead and disconnect the light pigtail, which runs the eyebrows DRL. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, remove the 4 screws on the clear lens. There is also a driver that will come out, which is the one that powers the DRL as well as the side reflector. With all 4 screws removed, the 2 pieces come apart fairly easy. You're going to want to go ahead and remove the reflector, that way no paint gets on it. Removing the clear lens over the eyebrow DRL is fairly easy, and there are a couple tabs that are clear inside of the assembly that you can pop out. Once the clear lens comes off, the actual eyebrow DRL can come out. It's fairly simple as well, and there's a few push tabs on the back side, and then it comes out through the front. Back to the main assembly, there are 3 wires that need to be disconnected. 2 of them are black, 1 of them is white. And then what we're going to do is remove the driver unit and then pull out the black connector that's connected to that. So there's a total of 4 plugs, which requires 2 Phillips head screws to be removed. The high beam adjustment screw has a cap over it. Use a small Phillips head screwdriver to pry it off. Using a 10mm socket, alternate between the top and bottom screws, loosening each one slightly at a time. This will remove the main assembly from the high beam and low beams. Once both adjustment screws are completely loose, go ahead and put your hand behind the high and low beam assembly. Pull it out. Underneath the projector there is a clip that will hold in the assembly. Behind the projector itself there are 4 screws that need to be loosened with a Phillips head screwdriver. After the first one is removed, go ahead and put it back in about halfway, that way the projector doesn't fall when the last one comes out. Then once all of them are removed, you can remove the last one the rest of the way. Disconnect the DRL power cable and set it aside. Back to the projector, there are 3 screws on the back side. Loosen these with the Phillips head screwdriver. Go ahead and put the projector back into its assembly, that way it doesn't get damaged. Picking up the main DRL and putting it upside down, you will notice there are 2 Phillips head screws. Go ahead and remove these, which removes the black cover. Inside the black cover is the LED panel. Be careful with this strip of LEDs as the ribbon cables are fragile and may tear. There are 3 clear tabs on the back of the DRL assembly. These 3 can be removed and the clear cover over the DRL can be taken off. Go ahead and take the projector and remove the 2 screws holding it to the LED assembly. Put the low beam LED back into the assembly and set it aside so it doesn't get damaged. Alright, now that the assembly is completely disassembled, we can go ahead and give it that etched look that everyone wants. So I sell the kit, it's on my Instagram, the link will be in the description. Go ahead and send me a message and I can make some custom ones or do one that I already have made in the past. This is an affordable DIY alternative to getting actual etched lenses, which can cost a lot, and distort light quality. Plus, at any point you can go back to factory without costing any money, and it only takes a few minutes. With the masking tape facing the table, go ahead and remove the backing material. Set the etch design aside and go ahead and put down a roll of tape with a microfiber cloth over the top and set the projector lens on it. Carefully place the etch design onto the lens and be careful of its alignment. Make sure everything is square and flip over the lens to check it from the front and make sure everything looks perfect. Now what you're going to go ahead and do is push down and try and get all the air bubbles out of the stencil. Perfect, this is looking so good. The oils from your hands are not good on the lens, so what you're going to want to do is put on a pair of rubber gloves, go through and get all the air bubbles out from underneath. Then go ahead and pull the masking tape off, which will leave the stencil underneath. Man, this process really is incredible, and you can get quality results at home for really cheap. Back to the low beam LED, we're going to assemble the projector back onto its original housing. Go ahead and replace the 2 Phillips head screws that we took out to etch the lens. Paint doesn't like to stick to shiny things, so what we're going to do is take the projector shroud and hit it with 450 grit sandpaper, especially on the chrome edges. This will help the paint stick. We're going to repeat the same process with 450 grit sandpaper on the outer shroud as well. Using a microfiber rag with isopropyl alcohol, we're going to go ahead and rub off all the debris that was created with the sandpaper. Using a good quality masking tape, go ahead and plug all the LED holes on the DRL assembly. Then go ahead and cover the entire front face of the DRL assembly with masking tape. What we're trying to do is keep the silver shine on the inside, which will allow the light to scatter and make the DRL brighter. If we go ahead and paint this black, the light will not be able to reflect and the DRL will be dark. On the clear DRL cover, go ahead and tape the front side. That way only the frosty paint gets on the back side and gives it the three-dimensional frosted look. Both the front, back, or both can be painted on the piece. The reason I paint just the back is so that the front still looks clear and has a very shiny look. Go ahead and tape off the outer side of the eyebrow DRL as well. 3 coats of paint should be used. The first coat should be an adhesion coat, which is just a nice light amount. The second coat should be slightly thicker, and the third coat should be a little heavier, which will be the main color coat. Go ahead and let the paint completely dry and bake in the sun for a little bit of time before bringing them inside and removing the masking tape. The frosted white color gives a nice contrast that balances well with the black internals. The frost also helps dissipate the light and makes a more even glow. A quick tip I thought I'd throw in here is make sure to organize all your screws since there's a lot of parts. Back to the outer cover, we're going to install the eyebrow DRL rod. Just like it came out, it slides right back in, and then the clips hold in nice and tight. Starting on the curly edge, go ahead and press fit in the clips that hold in the eyebrow DRL. The reflector can now be installed as well. The 2 front clips snap in and the back one will click in as well. This is a good time to take a microfiber cloth and clean out the inside of the lens. Go ahead and install the outer assembly into the lens. The 4 Phillips head screws will be screwed in, and one of them will also hold in the LED that powers the DRL as well as the reflector. Carefully peel the masking tape off the projector shroud and make sure to get all the ones that were inside of the holes. Being careful not to scratch the newly painted shroud, go ahead and place in the LED ribbon cable. The black plastic cover should slide over the top and be fastened down with 2 Phillips head screws. Starting at the bottom of the shroud, the frosted cover can now be installed as well. Go ahead and insert the etched projector into the projector shroud. Reinstall the 3 Phillips head screws that were removed earlier. Place the shroud and projector behind the high beam assembly and screw it in with the 4 screws that were removed earlier. reinstall the control module in its slot with the 2 screws that we removed earlier. Connect the large black connector into the headlight control module. At this time, go ahead and install the power wire for the DRL. Route the wire so that it comes out where it was originally left. Install the high and low beam into the main assembly, lining up the adjustment screws. Alternating from top to bottom, go ahead and tighten down the adjustment screws located on the back of the assembly. Make sure the clip under the projector is clipped in as it was when we started the project. Using a microfiber cloth, go ahead and clean the projectors and reflectors to make sure there's no dust or debris. Go ahead and install the 3 power connectors for the lights. Now install the eyebrow DRL connector. At this time, line up the lens and main assembly. Push the edges so the lens and main assembly hold together. Back inside, preheat your oven to 270 degrees. When warm, put the headlight back into the oven as you did earlier. After 5 minutes, remove the headlamp and bring it back to the workbench. Immediately begin applying pressure around the outside of the assembly and making sure that the seals lock into each other. Go ahead and reinstall the Phillips head screws that were removed earlier. If possible, I strongly suggest using clamps around the outside of the headlamp to seal it better. Once the headlamp is cool to the touch, go ahead and remove the clamps. And there you have it. Congratulations on blacking out your headlights, frosting your DRLs, as well as etching your projectors on a budget at home. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, go ahead and subscribe to my channel for more content that's similar.